This is Cyril Ramaphosa, the president of South Africa. On Sunday, he visited the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and made a stunning revelation. Ramaphosa said that Riyadh wants to join BRICS, a bloc of 5 major emerging economies: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Saudi Arabia wants to be its 6th member. At least that's what Ramaphosa claims. Here's what he said during the visit. The Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman did express Saudi Arabia's desire to be part of BRICS. That's not all. The South African president says Saudi Arabia is not the only country. A couple of others are keen on joining as well. Watch this.
They have a great desire, and they are not the only country that is finding the BRICS family or formation attractive because of what BRICS stands for. And so we did say to them, the BRICS nations are going to be meeting in a summit next year under the chairship of South Africa, in South Africa, and the matter is going to be under consideration. And already a number of countries or nations have been making approaches to each of the BRICS members, and we've given them the same answer, that it will be discussed by the BRICS partners themselves, 5 of them, and thereafter a decision will be made.
So how does one perceive this? Why are so many countries keen on joining BRICS? And what about the Saudis? What's their intention? To answer this, we'll first have to understand the purpose of BRICS. It was established to serve as an alternative to Western blocs, to counter their hegemony in geopolitics and the global economy. So, is Riyadh's bid to join BRICS an attempt to disassociate itself from the West? It surely seems like it, because Saudi Arabia's relations with Washington have hit a new low. Look at some recent developments. OPEC Plus has refused Biden's request to ramp up oil production. It then snubbed Biden's threats with a sharply worded statement. Then, as if to rub salt on injury, an American citizen has been sentenced to 16 years in prison in the kingdom. This was followed by another snub. Saudi Arabia did not extend an invitation to American officials for an investment conference scheduled for later this month. And now Saudi Arabia wants to join BRICS. It all seems to be part of a strategy. Saudi Arabia's push to decouple itself from the United States and ultimately the West.
So here's the South Africa president went and meet the Saudis in Saudi Arabia, right? And they're asking to join BRICS and telling the people BRICS is emerging in the next 5 to 10 years. BRICS gonna rival the system in place by by Europe and America combined, because look at all these countries who are trying to join BRICS. You have Saudi Arabia, which is where the South African president went, because South Africa is the chair for BRICS this year, and they're keeping the summit in South Africa as well this year. So Mexico want to join as well, Iran trying to join BRICS, Turkey trying to join BRICS. So I notice which countries is trying to join BRICS right now is all these disenfranchised countries that America sanctioned over the years and tossed to the side because, again, the American currency is the strongest globally. So they use that as a weapon. And don't forget, they just recently went to Venezuela trying to get oil because Saudi Arabia turned them down with oil. Because they wanted Saudi Arabia to increase the output of oil, but instead Saudi Arabia cut 2 million barrels per day instead. So they're gonna hike up the price and inflation in the States, and they don't want that. So the OPEC, and Saudi Arabia is the head of OPEC, right? So they run to Venezuela now. Now I hear them talking about lifting the sanction on Venezuela. You see, only when something is interest, only the state, that's when they want to lift sanction, because so for years now they have been sanctioned in Venezuela, but all of a sudden now they want to lift sanction. Because they talk about it in the Senate, but the Venezuelan president tell them no, they're not getting the oil, so they didn't go ahead and lift the sanction. So it's only, so now they're targeting Africa, because they are having a bill now to target Africa because of the whole BRICS thing and the whole working with Russian companies and all that. So, but this is not these countries' fault. This is when America try to bully every other country and try to get involved in other country decision. And don't forget, most of these countries are countries of democracy. They are individual countries with their own culture. But why is it America trying to dip their hand into every single part of the world? But look at this other video where what the Americans are saying about what they're going to do to Saudi Arabia because of for two things: for joining BRICS and because they cut the oil production to 2 million barrels per day. Listen to this.
Saudis need to come to their senses. They have committed a humongous blunder, very much against their own economic and security interests, as well as ours. The only apparent purpose of this cut in oil supplies is to help the Russians and harm Americans.
Oil is a commodity, not a tool or weapon for the political process. This was unanimously done by the OPEC countries, and oil prices rising or decreasing is a result of supply and demand, and this is controlled by the market, not the members.
Biden's trip to Saudi Arabia in July was his most fraught foreign visit to date.
Mr. President, what has your reaction been? Mr. President, what has your reaction been to the Herschel Walker controversy in Georgia? And do you think Democrats can hold that seat?
Negative and yes.
Mr. President, there are politicians in Blumenthal and Pana right now. They're calling for a stopping of U.S. arms sales to Saudi Arabia. Do you support that legislation?
We're going to react to Saudi Arabia, and they're doing a consultation when they come back, and we will take action.
So you see there, where they're saying again, they're basically saying, how dare the Saudis do this to America? That's what they're basically saying. And then they see the president saying they're going to retaliate against Saudi Arabia. But think about it logically. What can they do to Saudi Arabia, actually, apart from the weapons that Saudi Arabia bought weapons from America, and the military, American military is in Saudi Arabia too, helping them to fend off, teaching the Saudis how to, in warfare basically, and how to use the weapons and stuff like that. So they are threatening that now to take that away if the Saudis don't basically behave. But Saudis don't care about that because of what? If they take all their military out of Saudi Arabia and the arms, right? You have China and Russia that will supply Saudi Arabia, because when they eventually join BRICS, which they will, it's going to be backed by two commodities that they have in abundance. It is oil and gold. So when they finally introduce the BRICS currency, which I don't think is going to be an actual currency, what they're going to do, they're going to stop using the US dollar and just use their own currency between each other. I think that's what they're more moving towards. But they're going to be, because they already have their own bank. I tell you, in China, they have their own bank. They have trillions of dollars in it. Because all these countries have major economies, which they don't need to depend on the West. But the West do need Turkey, Saudi, and all those other countries, oil, and Russia. And you see, they are sanctioning people for buying oil from Russia, but yet America is still, up to this day, buying oil from Russia. But not directly, it's indirectly. They're making other countries buy it, and then they in turn go and buy the oil from the country. So like for instance, let's say Germany bought, say, 50 metric tons. So instead of buying 50 metric tons, they leave Germany buy 100 metric tons, and then the 50 extra they pay them for that and then take it. So they're still doing business with Russia behind closed doors. Because that's what they do all the while. They did the same thing with Zimbabwe when they sanctioned Zimbabwe, and they still in turn buying the lithium ore from Zimbabwe undercover. Because they still have sanctions on Zimbabwe up to today. They still haven't lifted the sanction on Zimbabwe. Why? Because if you remember back a couple decades ago, when the president of Zimbabwe, the then President Mugabe, take away land from white people, then that's when they come and sanction Zimbabwe, because after that they were trying, up to the day, they're still trying to get Zimbabwe to return the land to white people, which is not going to happen. So again, they try to bully people into submission, and very soon it won't work, because when BRICS come and rival them, then they're gonna see. Then even now America is losing their grip on the global economy, and they're losing their grip on bullying people, because you have more and more countries now with emerging economies which are joining together to go against the West, because they have been held on by America for decades, and that's one big mistake they do, because they're still trying to bully people up to now. Even though they're losing their grip, they're still trying to use force, and force is not going to work this time. And sanctions and all that, because did sanctions work with Russia recently? No. Did sanctions work with China? No. So it's not working anymore as how they think it should. They don't have that power. Although they did went and threaten South Africa with sanctions recently, when South Africa did a giant military drill with Russia and China. They went to South Africa and they had a summit, and they threatened South Africa, saying that they're going to sanction them if they go through with the military drill. But South Africa didn't pay the mind and still went through with the military drill. So that pisses them off. So now they have a new tactic. They're going to try to they are in the States right now. They passed a bill in the Senate recently that they're going to sanction African countries that works with Russia. I'm going to do a video on that very soon as well. So anyway, hope you learned something. As I always don't know, this is Washington SXN podcast. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. You don't know. Peace, one love. Boom.